great African leaders called nationalists. Nationalists are people who fought for the independence of their country. That is why nationalism is a patriotic sentiment on the part of a group of individuals who seek their rights to live under the government of their own makings with a desire to achieve full political, social, and economic freedoms. Before the coming of the Europeans, African people were living large, enjoying their resources, enjoying their lands, engaged in agriculture, fertile and beautiful land, strong men and women. But when they came, they took all our natural resources. They took our strong men and women to the New World to work as slaves. Then as time goes on, then came our great African leaders called nationalists. Nationalists were those people who struggled or who fought for the independence of their country. Along the coast, some were killed. Along the coast, some were humiliated. Along the coast, some were maltreated. We have many Africans who fought for the independence of their countries. Those are called patriots. Those are called nationalists. Before the Gambia as country gained its political independence in 1965, there was colonialism. We have been colonized for a period of 400 years. Difficulties, hardships, high standard of living, high payment of tax. Our people were deprived from taking part in Gambian politics. And among those people, the people that came back there, Jawara, the first Prime Minister and the first President of the Republic of the Gambia, this great man called Dawda. And I'll give you the profile of this great man, Dawda. The profile of this great man called Dawda. Dawda was not only a politician, but he was an elder statesman. He was an elder statesman, respected to the core, because he fought his struggle for independence of this country. That's why at some point he and some of these Gambians had to travel all the way to England for constitutional discussion, and of course for the discussion leading to the granting of Gambia's independence. That is why on the 18th of November 1965, the Gambia became a sovereign independent African state, and on the 24th of April 1970, Jawara became the president, and he ruled this country for a period of 32 years, 3 decades. Now to the profile of this elder statesman called Jawara. Jawara was born in 1924 at Barajali. He was brought up in Batos in a prominent Muslim family. He attended Mohammedan school in Batos, and Batos was the capital Batos was the place where the governor was residing, Governor Charles McCarthy. It was an island captured by the British and named as Batos, but it was originally called Banjulu. So Jawara, before independence, he was brought up in Batos and he attended Mohammedan school. He later proceeded to the Methodist Boys High School, and from there he studied 2 years nursing at the Royal Victoria Hospital. In 1947, he traveled to the Achimota College in Ghana to learn nursing. In 1948, he also traveled to the Glasgow University, or he studied at the Glasgow University. In 1955, he got married to the daughter of John Mahoney. And the same 1945, he also converted into Christianity, Jawara. And Jawara returned back and also continued in the Department of Veterinary Service. In 1959, he was handed a party called the People Progressive Party by Sanjali Buja. And Jawara came into the limelight of the Gambian history when he was handed a party called People Protectorate Party. During the colonial period, the Gambians who were working in Batos at that time, they decided to form an organization called Lillahi wa Rasuli. It means a charitable organization led by Sanjali Buja, a labor contractor. At some point, the organization was transformed into a political party. And the party also was led by Sanjali Buja, and that party was only meant for the people at the protectorate at that time, meaning people at the provinces at that time during the colonial period. That's why it was called the People Progressive Party. The party was unable to do more in Gambian politics at that time. That's why in 1959, the party was handed over to Jawara because of his education, because of his work experience and ethic. When he took over the party, the first thing that he did was he changed the name of the party from People Protectorate Party to People Progressive Party to better capture the image of the party to national level. And in 1960 election, Jawara led the party to win 10 seats. And of course followed by the UP, which won 8 seats. And Jawara was appointed as the Minister for Education here in this country. In the 1962 general election, he also led this party for the second time, and the party won 18 seats, while the UP won 13 as the second leading party here in the country during the colonial period. And Karaba Jawara was appointed as the Prime Minister of this country in 1965. And the party continued to dominate the Gambian political activities until in 1970, when Karaba Jawara became the first president of the Republic of the Gambia. 1970, he became the president. And when he became a president, or before he became a president in the early 1960s, when he was a prime minister. And of course, he also tried to transform this country into a republic at the beginning, but he failed at that time. But he did not give up. He continued until 1969. He went for a referendum, and he won the referendum with an overwhelming victory. And then the Gambia now became a republic under the leadership of Karaba Jawara in 1970. And when he became a president at that time, he brought in many development here in this country, because in the colonial period, only few schools were built. But when he became a president in this country, he built many schools across the length and the breadth of the country. He was giving textbooks or learning materials or equipment to our Gambians to learn. And of course, when he became a president, he developed our agricultural sector. He gives seed, subsidies, fertilizers and manures to our farmers to farm, because he believed in agriculture. That's why the party emblem of PPP was a hoe, and the hoe symbolized agriculture. He was giving seedlings, fertilizers, manures to our farmers to engage in agriculture, because he realized it's the only solution for this country, agriculture. That's why at that time when he was a president, there was Jahali Pacha rice field, where our people were farming. We are able to feed ourselves at some point. When he was a president at that time, or when the Gambia became an independent state, Karaba Jawara also invest in the area of infrastructure. Roads were built. Vehicles were introduced such as the buses to ease the movement of the Gambian people from one part of the region to another, done by Great Sir Dawda and his government. And of course, he did not stop there. He also invested in the area of health sector. During the colonial period, only few hospitals, if not 2 hospitals, were built in this country for a period of 400 years. That angered him greatly. When he came into power, he built many hospitals in this country and equipped them with medicines, with what? Health facilities, and will train nurses and doctors. This was Karaba Jawara. Karaba came into limelight of the Gambian history as a result of when he was handed over a party called the People Protectorate Party, which was led by Sanjay Bojan before Karaba Jawara. And he was the first Gambian to lead this country into independence. That's why he ruled this country for a period of 32 years until when he was overthrown in 1994. Karaba Jawara. What are the contributions of Karaba Jawara towards the developments of this country? What are the ways in which he contributed towards the developments of the Gambia? One of the ways was stable economy. When he was a president, there was nothing like inflations and deflation. Price of goods and service were not skyrocketing. Everything was smooth. The price of goods and service were relatively very cheap. Life was nice here. Goods can be affordable by the average Gambians. So it was a great development in the part of Karaba Jawara. For a period of 32 years, he stabilized the economy of our country. And of course, too, he encouraged or promoted multi-party democracy. He allowed many political parties to be established under his watch, such as the National Convention Party, such as the National Liberation Party, such as the PDOIS were all established when Karaba Jawara became the president. He promoted what he called a multi-party democracy. He allowed many political parties to be established here in this country as a development of Karaba Jawara. Another great development or significant development done by Karaba Jawara was he also promoted what he called, or he respected, fundamental human rights. The right to life, right to liberty, freedom of slavery, freedom from forced labor, freedom from inhuman treatment were respected by this great man, or by this elder statesman called Karaba Jawara. The fundamental human rights of our people were respected by Karaba Jawara. So this was a development that he did when he was president here in this country. That's why the people of this country allowed him to rule or to stay for long in power, a period of 32 years. The other great development, which was done by this great man over there, the picture called Karabaja, was he led this country into the attainments of independence. The British or the European powers, they came down to the Senegambian region. They divided Gambia and Senegal into two, and because of the Atlantic Ocean, they had an interest here in this country. They came and stayed here in the island called Batos. They captured this country and ruled this country for a period of 400 years. And when Karabaja acquired with educations and he came, he was the flag bearer of the People Progressive Party. Then he led our country into the attainments of independence. So which was a great fundamental development which was done by this great man called Karabaja. That's why we are never and ever going to forget about him. He's still with us because of his tremendous achievement, because of his significant and unremarkable achievement that he has done here in his country in his lifetime. Another great development was the attainment of Republican status. In 1969, he tried all possible means to make the Gambia as a republic. That's why he took the Gambia into a referendum in 1969. And in this referendum, he won this election with an overwhelming victory. And the Gambia became a republic on the 24th of April, 1970, still under leadership or the able leadership of this great man called Karabaja, an elder statesman. These are some of the developments that he did here in this country in his lifetime when he was a president of this country, the great Karabaja. And of course, we look at the reason for the success of Karabaja. Why did he stay in power for long? Why was it, or what are the reasons why he succeeded here in this country? There are many reasons. There are many things that he did here in this country. That's why he succeeded. One of the reasons that led to the success of PPP and the government of Karabaja was the party emblem. The symbol of a party was war, and war symbolized agriculture. Most of the people here in Gambia at that time, during the colonial period, were farmers. That's why they realized this man called Karabaja is very interested in agriculture. That's why they supported him. The reasons for the success of Karabaja. There are many reasons that led to the success of this great man and his political party called the People Progressive Party. One of the reasons was the party emblem. In the party emblem, or the symbol of the party, it symbolized a hoe. And most of these people in this country at the time in the Gambia, they were farmers. And because of the party emblem is a hoe, they supported Karabaja and his political party. That's why he served as the longest serving president right now in this country. As a result of, most of our people were farmers. And of course too, the liberal character of Karabaja. He was a tolerant leader, and he was willing to forgive his enemies at that time. He treated all people equally, very friendly. That's why most of the people in this country, they supported him and his political party, and that's why he was able to stay in power for long. As a result of his character, he was a liberal character. He was a tolerant leader by allowing people in this country to live in unity and harmony without any disturbance, without any destabilization in this country, Karabaja. And of course, the other reasons that leads to the success of PPP government and Salvador Karabaja as well was protectorate support. Most of the people that were supporting him were the people from the provinces at that time. That's why the party emanated from the provinces. That's why the name of the party was called People Protectorate Party. But it was when it was handed over to Karabaja, he decided to change the name to People Progressive Party. But most of the people at the province at that time were the ones supporting him. They supported him greatly, and in fact, because he was brought up by at Batos, the people of Banjul at that time, they also supported him greatly, which also helped him and his party to continue to rule this country for decades of years. The other significant reasons why Karabaja and his people succeeded in this country was the support from the eminent Gambian or the prominent Gambian. Most of the prominent businessmen here in this country at that time, They were the ones supporting Karaba Jawara and his political party. They sponsor him financial wise. They give him all the necessary support. Because he was born in Jare at the provinces, he came and he was brought up in Batos, and the party was owned by the people of the protectorate. So he was having that relationship, that rapport with the great businessmen. They supported him and his party. That's why he was able to rule in this country for a period of time. And of course, Karaba Jawara also succeeded in this country as a result of his what? Work experience. Because he traveled in different countries or to different countries to land and of course acquire skill. He traveled to Ghana at the Achimota College. He traveled to Scotland in the Edinburgh University. He also traveled to Glasgow University. So he was able to build a relationship. As a result, he was able to have a lot of experience. That's why when he came, they realized that this man was a man with great experience and intellect. They handed over the party to him, and he ran the party and became the flag bearer and lead his country into attainment of independence on 18th February 1965. And of course, the other reasons why Karaba Jawara also succeeded here in this country is as a result of international support. Because he was having international relationship. He built mutual and cordial relationship with the international or with the outside world. So which also helped him greatly to succeed here in this country as the leading political party and of course as a leading figure of this country. That was also a reason why he succeeded here in this country. So this is just a brief introduction about this great man, this unforgettable leader, a leader who led this country into the attainments of independence, a Gambian who fought for years for the attainments of this little country's independence, a person who fought the Europeans to grant us our independence, and there is no other person than Karaba Jawara. That's why even at his demise, we still remember him. That's why this conference is built to remember him. That's why before you enter in this conference, you see his picture, a great man, a nationalist, a politician, and of course a patriotic, a Pan-African, Karaba Jawara. He was a great man. He was an elder statesman, Karaba Jawara. The greatest African leaders that black Africans have ever produced was Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah was born in Ghana. And of course, after completing his primary and senior school in Ghana, Gold Coast, he traveled in 1935 in the United States of America. And of course, after graduating, he lectured at the Lincoln University in America. Kwame was inspired by Marcus Garvey's philosophy for no other salvation for the Negro, but through a free and independent African state. He soon involved into active politics. Then he became the first vice president of the West African Student Union, WASU. And of course, Kwame played a very important role in Ghana's politics. That's why he became the first prime minister and the first president of Ghana. He led this country into the attainments of independence in 1957, being the first British colonists in West Africa to attain their political independence, then followed by Nigeria under the leadership of Name Azikiwe of Nigeria. Then Kwame's political activities in 1950 make him to be imprisoned at Fort James Prison in 1950. And of course, Kwame also played a very important role in the formations of the international organization called the OAU, because he was among those African leaders who attended the formations of the OAU in 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And of course, he also encouraged women to take active part in politics. And then he won the Lenin Peace Prize of 1963. And Kwame also played a significant role in order to promote or in order to eradicate colonialism in Africa and of course in Ghana. He encouraged Ghanaians or African people to come together and form one continental organization and of course one government with the use of one currency. He was determined to emancipate Africa from colonial rule and of course unite her in a common cause. That's why he was fighting for the independence of Ghana, not only Ghana, but the entire continent of African people. And in fact, he inspired many African leaders. Among them, it includes Name Azikiwe of Nigeria. Among them, it includes Sekou Touré of Guinea Conakry. Among them, it includes Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. Among them, it includes Sir Milton Magai of Sierra Leone. They are all inspired by Kwame Nkrumah's struggle to unite African people to live under one government, to use one currency, and of course to live under one umbrella. And that's why Kwame Nkrumah was ousted from power until his death in 1972 at the age of 62. So this was the great Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. He was a bona fide citizen of Ghana, and of course after completing his primary and senior school educations in Ghana, Gold Coast, he then traveled in 1935 in the United States of America. And after graduation, he lectured at the Lincoln University. And then he also traveled to London. He became into the limelight of politics when he started to follow Marcus Garvey. And he was inspired by Marcus Garvey's philosophy for no salvation for the Negro, but through an independent country for the black people. Then Kwame was determined to see or to emancipate African people to live under one government. So this was great Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. So he played an active role in the attainments of many independence or many countries' independence. He inspired them. He instigated confidence in our African leaders. That's why even his demise, the people of Ghana and the people of Africa at large are unable to forget this great man. Because of his tremendous job, because what he has done for this country. That's why he was described as the greatest son of Africa. That's why he was described as a patriotic son. He was a Pan-African, a nationalist, and of course an anti-colonialist. This was a gist about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. Edward Francis Small, a great nationalist who was born in 1891, educated in Batos and of course Freetown. And of course, he was the father of the Gambian politics. He was also described as the elder statesman, a doyen of the Gambia, and also described sometimes as the watchdog of the Gambia. Edward Francis Small came into Gambian politics as a result of, or due to the colonial period, when the Gambia was being colonized by the European powers, such as the British here at that time. As being the few educated elites here in this region, he was helping the farmers as well as the workers. That's why at the time he was organizing evening classes for the people at the villages or at the provinces at the time. In 1917, he formed the Gambia Farmers Cooperative in order to bring all the farmers here in this country together to avoid them being exploited by the colonial power, that is the British at that time. So E.F. Small in 1922, he established the Gambian Outlook and the Senegambia Reporter newspaper in order to help to reach his supporters or to reach some of his Gambian, even when he was an exile at Senegal. He was using this newspaper called the Gambian Outlook and the Senegambia Reporter to reach the people, to teach the Gambian people about the evils and the dangers of colonialism. And of course, in 1929, he established a trade union called the Batos Trade Union. And this trade union led the first successful strike here in this country with the slogan called "No taxation without proper representation." Because the workers at Batos at that time were being exploited by the colonial government. Their salaries and wages were cut off by half. There was high standard of living. The price of goods and services at that time were skyrocketing, which angered the workers at that time, and Edward Francis Small, he led these people into a strike. And their slogan was, "No taxation without proper representation." The Gambian people should not pay tax until and unless they know where the money of the taxpayers have been spent. And it was in this strike when many people were killed by the colonial government. Many shops were burned down, many properties were destroyed. And then the agitators or the people who were engaged in strike and the colonial government, they reached a compromise, and then Small became a hero. And in 1930, he formed what he called the Ratepayers Association here in this country. And Small became the first Gambian to be elected in the House of our Representative. And Small, he helped many Gambians to sit in the House of Legislature at that time. And of course, in 1920s, he formed the Gambia branch of British West Africa when he represented this country into a congress which was held in Lagos, Nigeria. The contributions of Edward Francis Small in the political, social, and the economic developments of our country. What are some of the ways in which Edward Francis Small contributed towards the political, social, and of course the economic developments of our country? The watchdog of the Gambia, Edward Francis Small. One, he was the first Gambian to be elected in the Legislative Council. The first Gambian to win seat and to be elected in the Legislative Council was Edward Francis Small. And part of his contribution was he helped many Gambians also to sit in the House of Legislature. And of course, 3, he founded the Barrows Trade Union in 1929. 4, he founded and edited the first newspaper here in this country called the Gambia Outlook and the Senegambian Reporter, to help him to reach his supporters, to help him to educate the Gambian people, to help him to make the Gambian people to be aware and conscious about the evil and the dangers of colonialism. And small also part of his contribution, he formed the Gambia branch of British West Africa. And of course, small, in 1917, he established what they call the Gambia's Farmers Corporations to help the farmers to come together. 1917, small founded the Gambia Farmers Corporations, bringing the Gambian farmers together to avoid them being exploited. And of course, small also founded the Gambia Outlook and the Senegambian Reporter newspaper. And of course, in 1930s, he founded the Red Players Association. He also instigated many Gambians, or he also inspired many Gambians to take part in Gambian politics. So this is Edward Francis Small, who is described as the elder statesman. This was Edward Francis Small, described as the knowing or the father of Gambian politics. This was Edward Francis Small. So this is all about Edward Francis Small, a great Gambian nationalist, and of course a patriotic son of the land, a philanthropist, a politician, a Pan-African of course, a man who loved a country, a man who loved the entire continent of the black people, a man who loved the black race. He struggled for the independence of our country. In as much as he was at exile in Senegal, he was still fighting for the independence of this country. He was never tired. His mission was to see the Gambia being free from colonial rule. And that's why he struggled for the independence of our country until when he died in 1958. May his soul rest in perfect peace. This was Edward Francis Small, also part of the great African nationalists. He can't be forgotten. He's gone, but we can't forget him. Jawara is gone, but we can't forget them. These are called patriotic sons of this land. Mother Africa is great for these people because they play a very important role in the developments of our country, including Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. Among the African leaders that we are going to discuss, historic TV, it includes Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. We will also look at Modibo Keita of Mali. We will also look at Secretary of Guinea Conakry, Nami Azikiwe of Nigeria. We also look at Sir Milton Magai. We look at Leopold Sedar Senghor of Senegal, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela of South Africa. We also look at Flex Boigny. We also look at many and many more African leaders to be discussed in Historic TV Live. Please subscribe, please comment, and please be watching our videos. These are fascinating and of course interesting history that each and every African, each and every Gambian is required to know, because this is concerning about Africa and of course about the Gambia. So thank you so very much. This is Historic TV. And of course, this is Historic TV, giving you a gist about, a flavor about Edward Francis Small and some of the African nationalists. And of course, we will be dealing with, or we are going to discuss more about African nationalists, ranging from Kwame Nkrumah, which we discussed.
Next episode is International Organization. Stay tuned.
This is Historic TV Live at Vigilo in the OIC complex, about to discuss a topic called the international organizations. Prior to the attainments of independence by African countries, some of the international organizations were formed, such as the United Nations Organization, which was formed in 1945 at San Francisco, United States of America. And of course, there was another international organization called the Commonwealth of Nations, which was formed in 1911, but came into a real existence in 1979. And of course, before the African countries started to gain their political independence, some of the African leaders decided to form a continental organization in order to help the Africans to have a forums where to discuss and of course solve their problems. That international organizations came to be called the OAU, which means the Organization of African Union. It was established in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in 1963, when 32 heads of independent African states converged in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and signed a charter, which contributed to the formations of the international organization called the OAU, which is playing a greater role towards the developments of Africa, towards ensuring peace, harmony, and stability here in this country. OAU was formed in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in 1963. At that time, there was a need for continental organizations in Africa in order to help the African peoples to find a forum to discuss and solve the problems of African countries and to help those who are still under the colonial yoke to have or to find their own independence. So among the leaders who converged in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in 1963, it includes Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. The greatest leader that Africa has ever produced was great Kwame, who was the first prime minister and of course served as the first president of the Republic of Ghana. He helped Ghana to gain their independence in 1957, which was the first British-speaking country to attain their political independence. Among the leaders also who attended the formations of the Organization of African Union, it includes Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. And of course, we had Modibo Keita of Mali, who was the first president of Mali. There was also what they call Flex Boigny of Ivory Coast also attended the formations of the Organization of African Union. Sekou Touré of Guinea-Conakry also attended the formations. We also have Abubakar Tafawa Balewa also was among the great African leaders who converged in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia and signed a charter, which contributed to the formations of the organization called the OAU. And of course, the last country to join the OAU was called South Sudan in 2011 when they gained their political independence, and of course they emerged as a sovereign independent African state in 2011. They joined the OAU and of course they are part and parcel of the Organization of African Union, and that is why as of now the total number of countries that are part of the Organization of African Union, it rose or it increased to 54. There are 54 countries that are part of the Organization of African Union, at which Gambia is also among those countries who are also part and parcel of the Organization of African Union. And of course, in 2002, the name was formally changed from OAU to AU in order to better capture the organization. In the early 1960s, when African countries started to gain their political independence from the hands of their colonial masters, there was a need for continental organizations, among many other things, in order to help those that are still under the colonial yoke to have or to find means of acquiring their own political independence. At that time, there was disagreement among the African head of states about the modus operandi and the aims and objectives of the organization called the African Union. Some countries in Africa decided to bend on their own side and form an organization called the Casablanca Bloc, while other countries decided to form the Monrovian Bloc. But in 1963, they decided to put their own political difference aside and comes together and sign a charter which is the formations of the OAU in 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, under the leadership of Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. Among the African leaders who attended the formations of the Organization of African Union called OAU, it was Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Modibo Keita of Mali, Sekou Touré of Guinea-Conakry, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was among the African leaders who attended the formations of the OAU. There are also Sekou Touré of Guinea-Conakry, Sir Milton Magai of Sierra Leone. These are some of the African leaders who attended the formations of the Organization of African Union, which was ratified or which was formed in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in 1963. In 2011, South Sudan joined when they gained their political independence as a sovereign independent African state. In 2002, the name OAU was formally changed to AU in order to better capture the organizational goal. So in 1963, 32 heads of independent African states decided to put their political difference aside and converge in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and sign a charter which leads to the formations of OAU. Because they realized without the formation of the OAU, they can't able to solve the problem of Africa as a continent. That's why intelligent, smart, and patriotic Africans such as Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, such as Modibo Keita, such as Emperor Haile Selassie, such as Sekou Touré of Guinea-Conakry, decided to come together and converge in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and sign an agreement. And this agreement contributed immensely to the formations of the OAU. That is why now when there is war in some African countries, you will see the Africans that are part of the OAU, they will come together and mobilize now soldiers and send them to those countries for peacekeeping missions. That's why the OAU now is helping or is giving fund to some of the African countries. Why? It's as a result of the great contribution of our African nationalists such as Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Modibo Keita, Emperor Haile Selassie, Sir Milton Magai, and of course Sekou Touré, Modibo Keita. These are all Africans who stood up on their feet. Léopold Sédar Senghor of Senegal, Flex Boigny of Ivory Coast, they came together in 1960. Back in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, they signed a charter which contributed to the formations. That is why in 2002, they also convert again. They realized that the name OAU did not better capture the organizational goal. They decided to change the name from OAU to AU. And now the organization is formally called the AU, which means the African Union. It means Africans who come together and unite as a unified continent. This was what Kwame Nkrumah was advocating for. A United States of America or Africa, whereby the African are going to use only one currency, whereby the African will live under the government of their own making, whereby the Africans will come together as a unified continent and of course develop Africa under the leadership of only one president. So this is the Organization of African Union called the OAU. And of course in 2011, a country called South Sudan joined the OAU when it gains its political independence as a sovereign independent African state. And that's why now the membership increased to 54. There are 54 old countries that are part and parcel of the organization called the African Union, OAU. Now, the aims and the objectives of the OAU. What are the aims and objectives of the OAU? So part of their aims and objective is to eradicate colonialism. Colonialism was the direct political rules of a country by a foreign state. Before the coming of Europeans, Africa was a unified country. It was called the land of the black people. So when they came, they scrambled, they divide, they parceled Africa into 54 odd countries. And that's why Africa is never been the same again. So part of the aim and objective of OAU is to eradicate or to stop colonialism in Africa. Because before it was formed now, there are some countries who were still under the colonial yoke. So that is why 32 heads of independent African states, they converged in Addis Ababa and signed a charter which contributed immensely to the formation of the OAU in order to help to eradicate or to eliminate colonialism here in Africa. And of course too, to maintain peace and stability here in Africa. So part of their aims and objectives is to make sure that there is peace in all the countries in Africa. That is why when there is war in some of the countries that are part or in a country that is part of African Union, the African Union will convert and recruit soldiers and send them to these countries for peacekeeping mission in order to ensure peace and stabilization. And of course, 3, to improve the conditions and to therefore increase the standard of living of the African people. So part of the aim and objective of the OAU, why it was formed, because the African leader, they decided to improve the standard of living of the African people. Because Africa is a country that is blessed with natural resources, gold, silver, and diamond, fertile lands for farming. So they decided to increase or to improve the standard of living of the African people by consuming what we grow here in Africa. So part of their aim and objective is to establish friendly relations with other countries across the globe. That's why you'll see there are countries that establish what they call foreign policy as a result of the help of the OAU. They want to establish friendly relations and cooperations among other countries across the globe. That's why Africa is a friend to other continents across the globe. These are some of the aims and objectives of the OAU. This was some of the reasons when they converged in Addis Ababa. These were some of the agreements. What they want to achieve as an international organization that will help to safeguard the interests of the African people here in Africa. What are the benefits that the Gambia is deriving, or that the Gambia derive from her membership to OAU? What are the things that the Gambia is benefiting from her membership to AU? The Gambia as a country, as a sovereign independent African state, is benefiting greatly as a member of OAU. Among the reasons or among the benefits that the Gambia is deriving from OAU is conflict resolutions. When there is conflict in any country in Africa, the Gambia also will send their soldiers to go and maintain peace in those countries. So it's a benefit that the Gambia is deriving as a member of the OAU. Among the benefits that the Gambia also is deriving as a member of the OAU is scholarship. The AU who gives scholarship to the outstanding students in the Gambia to go and study in any country here in Africa in order for them to learn and acquire skills. So it's a benefit that the Gambia is acquiring from our membership to the organization called the AU African Union. Among the benefit too, what that the Gambia also is deriving or gaining as a result of a Gambia being a member of the OAU is employment. The AU is employing Gambian citizens to work under the organization, and of course, as a result of their organization, they are earning a living, they are receiving salaries and wages. OAU is employing or is providing or creating employment for the Gambian people. The Gambia is also benefiting in the area of skills, because there are countries that are having skills. They are well-trained civil servants, well-trained, of course, public civil servants, and of course, well-trained other individuals. So they will come down to the Gambia and help our Gambian civil servants, maybe in the area of education, perhaps in the area of health, perhaps in the area of games and sport. So with the Gambia is really benefiting from it. The OAU also is helping the Gambia in terms of what? African development banks. With the African development banks, it is giving developmental projects to the Gambia as a member of the OAU. That's why some of the projects are funded by the African development banks to help the Gambia to develop rapidly. So these are just some of the benefits that the Gambia is deriving from OAU. And in fact, all the countries that are part of OAU, they are deriving benefit as a result of them being a member of the OAU. What are the contributions that the Gambia is doing to OAU? What are the ways in which the Gambia is contributing to the developments of the AU? Among the contributions that the Gambia is doing as a result of a Gambia being a member of the AU is attendance. But the Gambia as a member of the AU normally attend any meeting or conference organized by the AU. It's either we are represented by the head of state or we are represented by some of the delegations that may be sent by the head of state. But the Gambia as a member do attend any conference organized by the OAU. Other benefit that the Gambia also is benefiting, that the Gambia also is contributing towards OAU is drawing of agendas. The Gambia as a member of an international organization called the African Union do also participate in the drawings of agendas of OAU prior to their meetings or prior to their conference. We have some of the Gambians that will also participate in the drawings of agendas that are to be discussed in that meeting. The Gambia also contributing in the area of art, games and sport. That's why the AFCON, if the Gambia qualify, the Gambia will participate. Why is the Gambia participating in AFCON? Because the Gambia is part and parcel of an organization called the African Union, and the Gambia is part of a continent called Africa. And almost all the countries in Africa are part and parcel of the organization of African Union. That's why the Gambia do participate in games and sport such as the AFCON, such as the Olympics organized by an organization called the African Union. The Gambia also do contribute in the area of payment of dues. Because as a member of an international organization, you do monthly payment or maybe yearly payment towards the development of that organization called the OAU. So the Gambia as a member of the OAU also do contribute, maybe contribute specific amount of money for being a member of the OAU for the development of that organization. So the Gambia also is contributing greatly. The Gambia also do contribute in what you call contribution of troops for peacekeeping mission. If there's a war, for instance, in a particular countries in Africa, the Gambia as a country will recruit soldiers and sell those soldiers to maintain peace. So this is a contributions, or these are some of the contributions that the Gambia as a member of the OAU also is doing for the developments of the OAU. Now to the problems faced by this international organization. Because we realize that when the European came, they decided to divide Africa among themselves. Because the concept was, the more countries you have, the more powerful you become. That's why the French, they came down to the Senegambian region or to the African continent. They decided to colonize Senegal. They colonized Mali. They colonized Burkina Faso. They colonized Mauritania, the French. They had the largest colonies here in Africa, then followed by the British. The Gambia was colonized by the British. Nigeria was colonized by the British. Nigeria was colonized by the British. Ghana also too was colonized by the British. So you can realize that there are different countries in Africa, 54 odd nations here in Africa, and each of these countries, they have their own official language, which is a problem that this organization is facing, language problems. Why language problem? Because they have been colonized by different European powers, making it very difficult for them to communicate and understand each other, language problems. There is also a difference of geographical boundaries or locations. Some countries are very far apart from each other. So for them to reach to each other becomes difficult. Why? As a result of the demarcation of Africa by the European powers, some countries are very far apart. This is a problem that OAU is facing. The other problem that OAU is facing is war. Because most of the countries, they are facing from war, political instability, violence, riots. in order to calm all those countries now becomes a problem. So it's a problem that OAU is facing as an international organization in the world or in Africa. The other problem that OAU is facing here in Africa is as a result of problems or inadequate finance. It becomes very difficult for them to finance some of their activities or their developmental projects in the area of agriculture, in the area of infrastructure, as a result of inadequate finance. So it's also another stumbling block that this international organization called OAU is facing. So this is just a gist about OAU. And this is Historic TV live, located right now at Bijilo at Jawara Conference Hall. The Economic Community of West African State, ECOWAS. ECOWAS is among the international organizations that Gambia as a country to interact with. And ECOWAS was formed in 1975 in Lagos, Nigeria, by two generals, General Bones and of course General Ayadem, who decided to converge in Nigeria, Lagos in 1975 and sign a charter which contributed to the formations of an international organization in the African or the West African sub-region, which comprised of 16 member countries, namely the Gambia, Senegal, Mauritania, Burkina Faso, and of course Benin, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Cape Verde, Togo, Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau. These are some of the African or the West African countries that are part and parcel of the Economic Community of West African State called ECOWAS. ECOWAS is a custom union which is meant to increase the free movement of people and their goods from one ECOWAS country to another without any obstacles or difficulties or challenges. The aims and objectives of ECOWAS. What are some of the things that ECOWAS want to achieve, which leads to its formations in 1975 in Lagos, Nigeria by General Gowon and General Ayadem. Part of their aims and objective is to eliminate all the obstacles for the free movements of peoples and their goods from one ECOWAS country to another. That's why today, right now, if you have ECOWAS biometric ID card, you can move from Gambia to Senegal without any hindrance. You can move from Gambia to Nigeria without any hindrance. Why? Because part of their aim and objective is to promote the free movement of people and their goods from one ECOWAS member countries to another. Part of the aim and objective of ECOWAS, that is called the Economic Community of West African State, is to remove all the trade barriers and the trade restrictions among member states. It means now the tariff that the Gambia is charging other nations or other nationals that are coming to the Gambia with their goods is going to be uplifted. It means all the countries that are part of ECOWAS are not going to charge tariff or tax to their people that normally engage in trade. That is the buying and selling of goods and service. So that is part of their aim and objective. Part of their aim and objective is to harmonize agricultural policies and the promotion of common commercial projects. They want to make sure all the countries in West Africa to have a common commercial project. They want to make sure all the countries that are part of ECOWAS in West Africa, they want to make sure that they harmonize agricultural policies and to be the same in terms of common commercial projects. This is also another aim and objective of ECOWAS, the great ECOWAS of our own. Part of their aim and objective is to remove all the quantitative and the administrative restrictions among member states. All the administrative and the quantitative restrictions for the free movement of people and their goods from one ECOWAS member countries to another should be uplifted or should be removed. This is also part of the aims and objective of ECOWAS, which comprise of 16 member countries in the sub-region called West Africa. Now, what are the benefits that the Gambia as a country is deriving as a result of the Gambia being a member of ECOWAS? What are some of the gains that the Gambia derive from ECOWAS? One of the benefits that the Gambia is deriving from ECOWAS is it is enabling the Gambia to establish large market. That's why as a Gambian businessman now, if you have a business, you can travel to Senegal and sell your product to Senegal. If you wish, you can travel to Nigeria, sell your products to Nigeria. If you wish, you go to Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry. So it is expanding trade or markets here in West Africa. So which the Gambia is really benefiting from. Part of the benefit that the Gambia is also deriving as a result of ECOWAS, it is helping our Gambian government to increase revenue through the payment of residential permit. If you are, maybe you are living in maybe another country and you come to the Gambia now, you are required to pay a residential permit. And that permit that you are paying is a revenue or income for the Gambian government, which the Gambia is really benefiting from as a result of the Gambia being a member of ECOWAS. The other great and important benefits that the Gambia is also driving as a result of the Gambia being a member of ECOWAS is it enabled the Gambian citizens to move freely from one ECOWAS member state to another without any hindrance, without any obstacles, without any problems, or without any challenges. That's why now if you have the ECOWAS biometric ID card, there's free flow of movement for you. You can fly to any other West African countries without any problems. Why? Because they share something in common, which is they are part of ECOWAS as an international organization which comprises of only West African countries that comprise of 16 member countries. Among the benefits that the Gambia also driving as a result of the Gambia being a member of ECOWAS is it is helping the Gambian to acquire skills from other countries that are part of ECOWAS. Some countries who are well equipped, who are well advanced, they'll come down to this country and help our Gambian people in the area of skills. So it's a benefit that the Gambia is also driving as a result of the Gambia being a member of our ECOWAS. The Gambia also normally benefit from games and sport that is organized by an international organization called ECOWAS. If ECOWAS organize any international games and sport, the Gambia also normally participate. So the Gambians participating in that games and sport now, they are driving benefits. They are driving benefits. So these are some of the benefits that the Gambia as a country is driving as a result of the Gambia being a member of an international organization that comprises of only West African countries in the West African sub-region called ECOWAS. The contributions of the Gambia towards ECOWAS. The Gambia as a member of ECOWAS, of course, used to contribute a quarter or used to contribute some part towards being a member of ECOWAS. What are some of the ways in which the Gambia as a country is contributing towards ECOWAS? So part of that contribution one is hosting of refugees. If there's a war in any other country that is part of ECOWAS, if they fled and come to the Gambia now, we host them. Why? Because of we are part and parcel of an international organization called the ECOWAS. Another contribution that the Gambia is also doing towards ECOWAS is attendance of meetings. The head of states of our country do represent the Gambia in order to attend a conference or meetings organized by the ECOWAS, or they will send delegation that will go and represent the Gambia as a member of ECOWAS. So it's a contribution that the Gambia is also doing as a member of ECOWAS that is called the Economic Community of West African State. The other contributions that the Gambia also is doing to ECOWAS is payment of dues. The Gambia do pay annual dues or maybe monthly dues to ECOWAS as the result of the Gambia being a member of ECOWAS for the success and of course for the longevity of ECOWAS. The Gambia also contribute in terms of conflict resolutions. When there is war in any other country that is part of ECOWAS, the Gambia will mobilize soldiers and will send the soldiers to go and maintain peace. That is for peacekeeping issue. So ECOWAS is an important international organization that the Gambia is a part and parcel of, which is really helping, which is playing a tremendous role for the developments of our country. ECOWAS is really playing an important role. That is why when there is war in any other countries, economic forces will come and maintain peace and harmony in this country. That's why when there is political instability, the economic forces will come and maintain peace in those countries. Why? Because those countries in which economic forces normally go into, they are part and parcel of an international organization called ECOWAS. So this is just a gist about ECOWAS, which was formed in Lagos, Nigeria in 1975. It was the second international organization which was formed here in Africa. It was also meant to bring Africans under one umbrella. It was also meant to unify the people of West African people. It was also meant to strengthen the bond and of course to cementing the relationship among African countries across the entire continent. So this is about ECOWAS, that is the Economic Community of West African State, is the United Nations organizations. Among the international organizations that the Gambia is a member is called the United Nations Organization. After the outbreak of the First World War in 1918, world leaders decided to meet or converge in order to form an organization that will prevent more wars. An organization was formed called the League of Nations in order to prevent the outbreak of the Second World War. But unfortunately, it was unable to prevent the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939. After the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939, the world leaders converged again on the 24th of October 1945 at San Francisco, United States of America. and they signed a charter which leads to the formations of the United Nations organization in order to prevent the outbreak of war across the globe and to maintain world peace and harmony. So the United Nations organization was formed in San Francisco on the 24th of October 1945 in order to prevent the outbreak of more wars, because after the end of the First World War in 1918, the world leaders converged and formed an organization called the League of Nations in order to prevent the outbreak of the Second World War. But unfortunately, the League of Nations was unable to prevent the outbreak of the Second World War. That's why when the Second World War ended in 1939, they converged again at San Francisco, United States of America. They signed a charter this time around, and this leads to the formations of the United Nations organization in 1945. The aims and objectives of the United Nations. What are some of the things? What are the programs or the agendas? What they want to achieve? What are the aims and objectives of this organization called the United Nations Organization? Very important in our lifetimes. Part of their aim and objective is to maintain international peace and security. That is why when there is war in any other countries across the globe, the UN will come together. They will converge soldiers and send them to these countries to maintain international peace and security. Very important. That's why you see them with well-equipped soldiers to go and maintain international peace and security. Because we cannot live in this world without peace. We cannot live in this world without harmony. We cannot live in this world without tolerance. That's why this very important international organization decided to maintain world peace and security across the globe. We give thanks, and of course we salute those African leaders and of course those American leaders or European leaders who decide to put their difference aside, and of course they look not into their interests, but they look at the interests of humanity and humankind or human race. They decide to converge at San Francisco and sign this charter which warranted the formations of this international organization called the United Nations Organization, which is doing a tremendous job across the entire globe. Part of their aim and objective is to promote friendly relationship and cooperations among member states. That's why now today you can travel from the Gambia to the United States to learn and to acquire skill, or of course to do any other activities. Why? Because they share something in common. The Gambia is part and parcel of an international organization called the United Nations Organization. That is why today you have seen many Gambians flying, going to where? Going to America, going to any other countries across the globe. Why? Because there is foreign relationship between the Gambia and those countries across the globe. So part of their objective is to bring all the countries in the world together and to help them to solve their problems and to achieve a common cause. That's why when there's destabilization, that's why when there is problems affecting a particular continent or countries, UN also will intervene in order to ensure peace and stability. These are just some of the aims and objectives of the United Nations Organization, which was established or set up in San Francisco, United States of America in 1945. What are the benefits that the Gambia derive from the United Nations Organization? What are some of the ways that the Gambia is benefiting from the United Nations Organization? The Gambia as a country and also as a member of the United Nations Organization is benefiting greatly. One of the ways in which the Gambia is benefiting is through the help of the World Health Organization, WHO. WHO is an agent or agency under the United Nations Organization. It's just a branch. And WHO is providing Gambian people or Gambian citizens or Gambian government with what? Well-established hospital. They also provide us with medicine. They train our civil servants as the nurses and doctors. WHO. Most of our hospitals have been improved. Their conditions have been improved. We are having medicines with the support of WHO, World Health Organization. Among the benefits that the government also is driving from a United Nations Organization is through UNICEF. And UNICEF also is a sub-branch, is an agency under the United Nations Organization, and which is also helping Gambian children. Some of the children who may not be able to afford education, UNICEF sponsor. So UNICEF, which is the United Nations International Children Emergency Fund, they help to sponsor Gambian children. Why? Because the Gambia is part and parcel of the United Nations Organization. That's why UNICEF also is doing a great job tremendous job, pivotal and instrumental role to help some of the Gambian children. The Gambia is also a benefit from FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization. FAO is also another sub-branch under United Nations Organization. They help to provide us with different varieties of food, especially in the area of agriculture. They give seed and seedlings to our farmers. They provide us with varieties of seed in the area of agriculture. So FAO also is playing a very pivotal role for the development of the Gambia in the area of food and of course agriculture. So this is a benefit that the Gambia also is deriving as a result of being a member of an organization called the United Nations Organization. Among the benefits that the Gambia also deriving from the United Nations Organization is a scholarship. So the UN also do give scholarship to the outstanding students of the Gambians to go and study abroad. So if you had the opportunity, or if maybe you have the requirement, they will give you scholarship now to go and study in abroad. So this is a benefit also that the Gambia as a country is also deriving as a result of Gambia being a member of the United Nations Organization, which was established or formed at San Francisco in the United States of America in 1945. Now, what are some of the ways in which the Gambia is contributing? What are the contributions of the Gambia towards her membership to the United Nations Organization? It's the same, it's just similar to ECOWAS and of course OAU. The Gambia as a member of the United Nations Organization also do attend any meetings or conference organized by the United Nations Organization. It's either we are represented by the head of state or they will send delegations to go and represent the Gambia as a member of the organization. The Gambia also normally contribute in the area of attendance of meetings. The Gambia also do contribute in the area of payments of dues. So it's also a contributions of the Gambia towards the United Nations organizations. The Gambia also do contribute in the area of resolutions or conflict resolutions. If there's a conflict in a country that is part of the United Nations Organization, the Gambia also do participate in a negotiation that will bring peace in that particular country. So this is called the United Nations Organization, which was formed after the Second World War in 1939, which was unable to prevent the outbreak of the First World War in 1918, and which resulted to the formation of the League of Nations. But the League of Nations was unable to prevent the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939. So when the world leaders converged at San Francisco, they decided to put their differences aside and ratify an agreement which led to the formation of the United Nations Organization in 1945. So this is our History TV, which are right now located at the Jawara Conference Hall and giving you a live historic feed about the past important events that had happened in the country and of course the entire world. So this topic is very, very important. It's a topic that each and every Gambian or African, of course, should comprehend. The Gambia is part of 4 great international organizations which comprise of the OAU, the United Nations Organization, the Commonwealth, and of course the ECOWAS, the Commonwealth of Nations. This was the oldest international organization across the globe. It is a voluntary organization consisting of Britain and her former colonial dominion or colonies. And in the past, only the former British colonies could become a member. But now, membership is open to any other countries that wish to join the Commonwealth of Nations. The organization started its operation in 1911 with 5 independent countries, namely Britain, New Zealand, Canada, South Africa, as well as Australia. But it started its operation in 1979, and the membership of the Commonwealth rose to 41. Commonwealth is a voluntary organization which is meant to support former British colonies or former colonies that were colonized by the British. That is why all the countries that are part of the Commonwealth in West Africa, they were colonized by the British. For instance, the Gambia was colonized by the British and the Gambia is a member. Nigeria was colonized by the British and is a member. Ghana was colonized by the British and is a member. Sierra Leone is a member as well. So the Commonwealth comprised of her former colonial dominion. The main aim and objective of the Commonwealth of Nations is to bring all the former British colonies together as they share common traditions and culture. They share something in common. That's why they decided to form an international organization that will bring all the British colonies together, Why bringing them together? Because they believe to share something in common. For example, the Gambia and Nigeria, they share something in common. There was indirect rule system introduced in Nigeria by Lord Lugard, introduced in the Gambia by Governor Arabi Lalwen. So they share something in common. The same indirect rule system was also introduced in Ghana, was also introduced in Freetown. So they share something in common. That's why the British decided to bring all their former colonies or dominions together, because they believe that they had something in common. They have the same tradition as well as the same culture, the Commonwealth of Nations. That's why once in each and every year, we celebrate the Commonwealth of Nations in order to remember this great international organization doing tremendous job across the globe, supporting countries that are colonized by the European or by the British, and even those that were not colonized by the British are still being supported or given a helping hand. Now, what are the aims and objectives? Or what is the aim and objective of the Commonwealth of Nations? It's just to bring all the British colonies together, as they have been believed to share the same custom and traditions. What are the benefits that the Gambia derive from the Commonwealth of Nations? Part of the benefit that the Gambia derive from the Commonwealth of Nations is technical assistance, because the Commonwealth of Nations comprises of Britain, and they comprise of also advanced countries. They'll come down to the Gambia and give a supporting or helping hand to our Gambian government, more so to our civil servants, those working under our government. They give us technical assistance. We also benefit in the area of joint solution of problems. If there's a problem affecting a country that is part of the Commonwealth of Nations, the Gambia also will do participate. They will take part in negotiation that will bring peace, harmony, and stabilization in that particular country. Why? Because that country is part of a Commonwealth of Nations, and Gambia also too is a member of Commonwealth of Nations. Among the benefits also that the Gambia derive from Commonwealth of Nations is employment. They are giving employment to our Gambian people. They are supporting us as Gambians because we are colonized by the British, and of course the Gambia too is part of the Commonwealth of Nations. So it's a benefit that the Gambia as a nation or as a sovereign independent African state also is deriving as a result of the Gambia being a member of the Commonwealth of Nations. The other benefit also that the Gambia also derive from OAU is games and sport. From the Commonwealth of Nations is game and sport. Whenever they organize events such as game and sport, us as a country, we do send representative that will represent the Gambia as a country, so that the Gambia is part of the Commonwealth of Nations. And those who represent our country also derive benefit. So these are some of the benefits that the Gambia derive from our member to Commonwealth of Nations. Of course, just to add, employment. There are Gambians who have been employed by the Commonwealth of Nations. They also go for scholars, Commonwealth of Nations. Now, 2, the contributions of the Gambia to the Commonwealth of Nations. The Gambia being a full-fledged member of the Commonwealth of Nations also contribute a quarter for the success and the growth of this great and giant organization called the Commonwealth of Nations. So one of the ways in which we contribute as a country is we contribute in joint solution of problem, peaceful resolution. If there's a problem affecting a member countries or a member state, we also intervene as a country. We negotiate at the highest speed. We also contribute in the area of attendance. Any events organized by this giant organization, we do attend as a member to represent, so that we are a member of the Commonwealth of Nations. The other benefit or the other contributions that the Gambia also is doing geared toward the success and the growth and the development of the Commonwealth of Nations is attendance of meetings. The Gambian delegates or the Gambian delegates here in this country represent the entire country to Commonwealth of Nations if they organize any conference or any meeting in which we are invited as a member. So this is Historic TV Live at Bijino right now, giving you a live history feed regarding the international organization that the Gambia is part of. So right now we are in the ECOWAS complex that is at the Jawara Conference Hall. You look at PS Mall.
Yes, it was Francis Mall. Guys, yes, at the moment we are at the OIC complex. Yes, Dawda Jawara. We just shoot the international negotiations. Now we are heading to the other end to shoot the African national leaders.
So this is Historic TV live at the OIC complex, that is at the Kairaba Jawara Conference Hall, here situated or located at Bijilo, giving you a fascinating history about the international organization ranging from the ECOWAS, ranging from the Commonwealth of Nations, United Nations Organization, as well as the Commonwealth of Nations. So this is Historic TV right now. We are bringing to you live fascinating events and of course captivating and interesting topics that we are going to bring to you people. So please subscribe to our channel, and don't only subscribe, share your beautiful comments, and of course share our channel across the four corners of this country. Share our channel across the entire length and breadth of this Gambia, for every Gambian, a concerned citizens, a patriotic nationalist to subscribe, and of course to be watching and to support truthful, genuine, and of course hardworking Gambians. Young Historic TV with Mr. Sane right now here at the OIC complex. This is Mr. Trawale, the narrator, or the one that normally give you a fascinating, a beautiful history with a beautiful voice, and of course check it out.